The sky turned an eerie shade of purple as the massive alien ships appeared out of nowhere. It was just another Tuesday morning, and people were going about their daily lives when everything changed. The alien armada, led by the fierce Commander Thor, had arrived in Earth's orbit. At first, most people thought it was some kind of weird weather phenomenon. But as the ships got closer and closer, blocking out the sun in many places, the truth became clear. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and their first contact was not going to be friendly. In New York City, a hot dog vendor named Joe was the first to spot one of the ships. He stood there, mouth open, hot dog in hand, as the massive craft hovered over the Empire State Building. "Hey, buddy, you gonna give me my hot dog or what?" a customer asked, not yet noticing the alien ship. Joe couldn't speak. He just pointed up with his free hand, the other still clutching the hot dog. As more people looked up, chaos erupted. Cars screeched to a halt, causing a massive traffic jam. People ran in all directions, some trying to get home, others just running in panic. The usually noisy city became even louder with screams, car horns, and the low, ominous hum of the alien ships. Meanwhile, in a small town in the middle of nowhere, old Mrs. Jenkins was more annoyed than scared. "Aliens, schmalians," she muttered, adjusting her TV antenna. "They better not mess with my soap operas." As the world tried to make sense of what was happening, the aliens made their next move. Every TV, radio, and even smartphone suddenly started broadcasting the same message. Commander Thor's face, which looked like a mix between a lizard and an octopus, appeared on screens worldwide. "People of Earth," the alien commander's voice boomed. It sounded like he was gargling marbles while trying to speak. "We are the Zorgans, and we have come to claim your planet. Surrender now, or face total annihilation. You have one Earth rotation to decide." In the White House, the President of the United States spat out his coffee. "One day. They're giving us 1 day to decide if we want to be alien slaves or space dust. That's not even enough time for a proper Twitter poll." Around the world, other leaders were equally shocked. The British Prime Minister nearly choked on his tea. The Russian President, who was in the middle of a shirtless photo shoot on a horse, fell off said horse in surprise. The Australian Prime Minister just shrugged and said, "Mate, we've dealt with deadlier creatures in our own backyards." As governments scrambled to respond, ordinary people reacted in various ways. Some panicked, rushing to stores to buy all the toilet paper and canned beans they could find. Others threw impromptu end-of-the-world parties. A group of college students in California started a Welcome Aliens bonfire on the beach, hoping to make peace with s'mores and guitar music. In Japan, a group of anime fans got excited, thinking their favorite shows were finally coming true. They started practicing their giant robot piloting skills, just in case. Back in New York, Joe the hot dog vendor had finally snapped out of his shock. He looked at the alien ship, then at his cart full of hot dogs. With a shrug, he yelled out, "Alien Invasion Special. Get your hot dogs here. 2 for the price of 1. As the first day of the invasion came to an end, humanity was divided. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to surrender, and a surprising number just wanted to know if the aliens liked cats or dogs better. Little did they know, the answer to that question would turn out to be more important than anyone could have imagined. Commander Thor, watching the chaos from his ship, felt confident. These humans seemed soft and easily frightened. What could they possibly do to stop the mighty Zorgan Empire? He had no idea that in a small veterinary clinic, the key to humanity's survival was currently chewing on a squeaky toy and wagging its tail. As Earth's first day under alien threat came to an end, Commander Thor sat in his command chair, tentacles twitching with impatience. His large, bulbous eyes scanned the reports coming in from his intelligence team. Something wasn't adding up. "Lieutenant Squirm," he gurgled, addressing a smaller, greener alien. "Why haven't the humans surrendered yet? Don't they know how doomed they are?" Lieutenant Squirm nervously shuffled his tentacles. Well, sir, it seems they're resilient. And there's something else. Zixthor's eyes narrowed. Spit it out, Squirm. I don't have all solar cycle. Our deep space transmissions have picked up chatter about a secret Earth weapon, sir. Something called the Beast. Zixthor's tentacles went rigid. The Beast. Tell me more. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen was having a very strange day at her small-town veterinary clinic. First, the alien invasion had scared off half her staff. Then Mrs. Whiskers, the clinic's resident cat, had knocked over a whole shelf of pet shampoo trying to hide from the alien ships visible through the window. As Sarah was mopping up the mess, she noticed something odd. A group of what looked like tourists in very odd, shiny outfits were peering into the clinic's windows. They seemed particularly interested in the puppy play area. "Can I help you?" Sarah called out, but the tourists quickly scurried away. Back on the alien mothership, Commander Zixthor was becoming obsessed. "The Beast," he muttered, pacing back and forth. "It must be the human's secret weapon, a creature so powerful it can control minds." His imagination ran wild. He pictured a massive, fearsome creature with razor-sharp teeth and claws that could tear through Zorgan battle armor like paper. Its roar alone could probably shatter their ship's windows. "We must find this beast," Zixthor declared to his crew. "And we must control it before the humans use it against us." On Earth, world leaders were frantically trying to figure out what the aliens were talking about. The President of the United States was on a conference call with other global leaders. "Has anyone developed a secret weapon called the Beast?" he asked, hopeful. "Niet," said the Russian president. "Non," replied the French president. "Neen," added the German chancellor. "We've got some pretty gnarly spiders, mate, but I don't think that's what they're after," chimed in the Australian prime minister. As confusion spread among Earth's defenders, the aliens intensified their search. Zixthor sent out scout ships to scan for unusual energy signatures or large, beast-like creatures. One of these scout ships hovered over Sarah's veterinary clinic. Inside, Sarah was giving a checkup to Mr. Fluffles, the clinic's newest resident, a tiny, adorable golden retriever puppy. "Who's a good boy?" Sarah cooed, as Mr. Fluffles wagged his tail and tried to lick her face. "Yes, you are. You're the best boy." The alien scout ship's sensors went haywire. They detected an anomaly, a small creature emitting powerful waves of an unknown energy. Could this be the beast they were looking for? Excited by their discovery, the scout team reported back to Commander Zixthor. "We found it, sir. The beast is located in a facility filled with smaller Earth creatures. It must be a training ground for their biological weapons." Zixthor's eyes widened with glee. "Excellent work. Prepare a strike team. We'll capture this beast and use it against the humans. Victory will be ours." As the aliens prepared for their strike, Sarah finished up her day at the clinic, blissfully unaware of the chaos about to unfold. She gave Mr. Fluffles one last pat, locked up the clinic, and headed home, looking forward to a quiet evening of binge-watching her favorite sci-fi show. Little did she know, her quiet evening was about to turn into a real-life sci-fi adventure. And Mr. Fluffles, the tiny puppy who couldn't even climb the stairs without tumbling, was about to become the most important creature on the planet. As night fell, the alien strike team approached the clinic. Commander Zixthor, unable to contain his excitement, decided to lead the mission personally. Soon, he thought, his tentacles quivering with anticipation, "We'll unleash the beast, and the Earth will be ours." But as the old Earth saying goes, be careful what you wish for. The aliens were about to learn a very important lesson about assumptions, the power of cuteness, and why you should always double-check your translations. The full moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over Dr. Sarah Chen's veterinary clinic. Commander Zixthor and his elite strike team crouched behind a nearby hedge, their tentacles twitching with anticipation. "Remember," Zixthor gurgled to his troops, "we're here for the beast. It's small but incredibly dangerous. Approach with caution. Meanwhile, inside the clinic, Mr. Fluffles was having the time of his life. The tiny golden retriever puppy had managed to escape his pen and was now gleefully shredding a roll of toilet paper, turning the clinic's reception area into a winter wonderland of white fluff. As the alien strike team prepared to breach the clinic's door, Officer Jenny, the town's night patrol cop, drove by on her usual route. She noticed the strange, shimmering figures huddled by the vet clinic and pulled over. "Evening, folks," she called out, flashlight in hand. "Everything all right here?" The aliens froze. They hadn't planned for this. Thinking quickly, one of them stepped forward, wearing what they thought was a perfect human disguise. A trench coat and a hat perched awkwardly between their eye stalks. "Yes, fellow human," the alien said in a voice that sounded like a blender full of marbles. "We are just walking our dog." Officer Jenny raised an eyebrow. At midnight, in front of the closed vet clinic, "Where's the dog?" Before the alien could respond, a crash came from inside the clinic, followed by a series of happy yips. Mr. Fluffles had discovered the joy of knocking over trash cans. "The beast awakens," Zix Thor exclaimed. "We must act now." In a flurry of tentacles and shimmering alien tech, the strike team burst through the clinic door, leaving a very confused Officer Jenny in their wake. Inside, Mr. Fluffles froze mid-chew on a wad of shredded paper. His tiny tail began to wag at the sight of new friends to play with. "Behold," Zix Thor declared, pointing a tentacle at the puppy. "The beast." His soldiers stared in confusion. This tiny, fluffy creature was the beast, the feared mind control weapon of the humans. Mr. Fluffles, excited by all the attention, let out an admirable yip and bounded towards the aliens, tripping over his own oversized paws in the process. One of the alien soldiers instinctively caught the puppy before it could faceplant into the linoleum. The moment the soldier's tentacles touched Mr. Fluffles' soft fur, something strange happened. A warm, fuzzy feeling spread through the alien's body. "Commander," the soldier said, his voice quivering, "I feel odd." Zix Thor snatched Mr. Fluffles from the soldier. "Don't be fooled by its appearance. This must be part of its mind control power." But as Zix Thor held the squirming, happy puppy, he too began to feel strange. The warmth of the tiny creature, the softness of its fur, the pure joy in its eyes. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Just then, Dr. Sarah Chen burst through the back door, having been alerted by the clinic's security system. She stopped short at the sight before her. A group of aliens, led by one that looked like a grumpy octopus in a spacesuit, all gathered around and staring at Mr. Fluffles. "What in the world is going on here?" Sarah demanded, her voice a mix of confusion and protective anger. Zix Thor turned to her, still holding Mr. Fluffles, who was now contentedly chewing on one of the commander's tentacles. "Human, explain the power of this beast. How does it control minds?" Sarah blinked, looking from the aliens to Mr. Fluffles and back again. "Beast? Mind control. That's just Mr. Fluffles. He's a 3-month-old puppy who hasn't even learned to sit yet." A heavy silence fell over the room, broken only by Mr. Fluffles' happy panting. "Puppy." Zix Thor said the word slowly, as if tasting it. "What is puppy?" Sarah, deciding to roll with the absurdity of the situation, stepped forward. "Here, let me show you." She gently took Mr. Fluffles from Zix Thor's tentacles and placed the puppy on the floor. "Mr. Fluffles, fetch." She tossed a squeaky toy across the room. Mr. Fluffles excitedly chased after it, his little butt wiggling with each bound. He grabbed the toy, shook it vigorously in his mouth, and then promptly got distracted by his own tail, starting to chase it in circles. The aliens watched in fascination. This creature, this puppy, was not at all what they had expected. It wasn't fearsome or mind-controlling. It was adorable. As Mr. Fluffles continued his tail-chasing adventure, occasionally tumbling over in his excitement, something unprecedented happened. Commander Zixthor, the fearsome leader of the alien invasion, let out a sound that could only be described as a chuckle. The scene in Dr. Sarah Chen's veterinary clinic was like something out of a bizarre dream. Commander Zixthor, leader of the fearsome Zorgon invasion fleet, was sitting cross-legged on the floor, utterly mesmerized by Mr. Fluffles' attempts to catch his own tail. Fascinating, Zixthor muttered, his tentacles twitching in rhythm with the puppy's movements. But I don't understand. Where is the mind control, the fearsome power? Sarah, still trying to process the fact that she was explaining puppies to aliens, sat down next to the commander. There's no mind control, at least not in the way you're thinking. Puppies just have this effect on people, beings. They make you feel happy. One of the alien soldiers stepped forward, his large eyes blinking rapidly. But sir, what about the reports? The beast that could bring our empire to its knees. Zixthor frowned, his earlier amusement fading. Yes. We can't let ourselves be distracted. This must be some sort of trick. He stood up abruptly, causing Mr. Fluffles to yip in surprise. Human. Zixthor turned to Sarah, his voice stern. You will tell us the true nature of this creature's powers, or we will be forced to take drastic measures. Just then, Officer Jenny burst through the door, gun drawn. Freeze. Everybody. But she trailed off as she took in the scene before her. Aliens, a vet, and a puppy all staring at her in surprise. Mr. Fluffles, excited by the new arrival, bounded over to Officer Jenny and began enthusiastically licking her shoes. Oh, for Pete's sake, Jenny muttered, holstering her weapon and bending down to pet the puppy. What in the world is going on here? Well, Sarah began, it seems there's been a bit of a misunderstanding about. No misunderstanding, Zixthor interrupted. This is clearly an elaborate ruse. Your Earth governments are hiding the true power of the beast. Officer Jenny looked at Sarah, confusion written all over her face. The beast. Sarah sighed. They think Mr. Fluffles is some kind of secret weapon. Jenny snorted, then quickly tried to compose herself. I'm sorry, but that's just ridiculous. Have you seen this little guy? He got stuck in his water bowl last week. As if to prove her point, Mr. Fluffles chose that moment to let out a big yawn, showing his tiny puppy teeth, then promptly flopped onto his back, paws in the air, silently begging for belly rubs. The alien soldiers looked at each other uncertainly. This didn't seem like the behavior of a fearsome weapon. Zixthor, however, was not so easily convinced. Enough of this charade. If you won't reveal the creature's true powers, we'll have to discover them ourselves. Prepare the beast for transport to our ship. Now hold on just a minute, Officer Jenny said, stepping in front of Mr. Fluffles protectively. You can't just come to our planet and start kidnapping puppies. Yeah, Sarah chimed in. What kind of invasion is this anyway? Zixthor puffed up indignantly, his tentacles flaring. I'll have you know this is a top-notch invasion. We have state-of-the-art ships, fearsome weapons, and he trailed off as he noticed Mr. Fluffles had waddled over and was now contentedly chewing on one of his lower tentacles. The alien commander looked down at the puppy, then back at the humans, confusion evident in his large eyes. Why isn't it attacking? Where's the ferocity? The bloodlust? Sarah couldn't help but laugh. The only thing Mr. Fluffles here is a danger to his unattended shoes and toilet paper rolls. As if on cue, Mr. Fluffles let out a squeaky little bark, tail wagging furiously. The alien soldiers were now openly crowding around the puppy, all pretense of a serious military operation forgotten. One of them had produced a piece of string from somewhere and was dangling it for Mr. Fluffles to paw at. Zixthor watched this display with a mix of frustration and bewilderment. But our intelligence reports. The beast. Officer Jenny put a sympathetic hand on the alien commander's shoulder, causing him to flinch in surprise. "Look, buddy, I think you guys might have gotten some wires crossed somewhere. How about we all calm down and talk this out? I make a mean cup of coffee." Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "Great idea. I've got some dog biscuits in the back too. We can have a nice chat and clear up this whole beast misunderstanding." Zixthor looked from the humans to his soldiers, now fully engaged in a game of tug-of-war with Mr. Fluffles, and back again. For the first time since the invasion began, the fearsome alien commander looked completely and utterly lost. I suppose that would be acceptable," he finally said, his voice uncertain. "But I warn you, any trickery will be met with the full might of the Zorgan Empire." As Sarah went to put on a pot of coffee and Officer Jenny radioed in to explain that no, she didn't need backup, and yes, she was having aliens over for a chat, no one noticed Mr. Fluffles sneaking into the back room. The little puppy had spotted something far more interesting than aliens or humans, a big juicy roll of toilet paper just waiting to be unraveled. The stage was set for the strangest diplomatic meeting in Earth's history, and at the center of it all was one very ordinary, yet somehow extraordinary, puppy. The veterinary clinic's break room had never seen a stranger gathering. Dr. Sarah Chen sat at the small table, cradling a mug of steaming coffee. Across from her, Commander Zixthor, awkwardly perched on a chair, his tentacles wrapped around his own mug. Officer Jenny leaned against the counter, quietly radioing updates to an increasingly bewildered police dispatch. And in the middle of it all, Mr. Fluffles pranced about, tail wagging, blissfully unaware that he was the center of an intergalactic incident. "So," Sarah began, breaking the awkward silence, "you thought Mr. Fluffles here was some kind of secret weapon?" Zixthor's eye stalks drooped in embarrassment. "Our intelligence reports spoke of a powerful Earth creature capable of disarming even the mightiest warriors. We assumed." "You assumed it was something big and scary," Officer Jenny finished for him. "Not a little fluffball who can't even climb stairs without tumbling." As if on cue, Mr. Fluffles attempted to jump onto a nearby chair, missed, and landed with a soft plop on his bottom. He looked around, confused for a moment, then happily trotted off to investigate a shiny object in the corner. One of the alien soldiers, who had been watching the puppy intently, spoke up. "But Commander, look at how it affects us. I've never felt anything like this before." Zixthor nodded slowly. "Indeed. Every time it does something, I feel a strange warmth in my thorax, and my facial muscles keep contracting into this weird expression," he demonstrated, his alien features contorting into what could only be described as a smile. Sarah laughed. "That's called happiness, Commander. And what you're experiencing is the power of cuteness." "Cuteness?" Zixthor tested the word. "Is it some form of Earth magic?" "Not magic," Sarah explained. "It's more like a natural response. Puppies with their big eyes, soft fur, and playful nature trigger caretaking instincts in many species. They'd make us feel good." Officer Jenny chimed in. "It's why we keep them as pets. Companionship, joy, unconditional love. That's the real power of puppies." Zixthor looked thoughtful, his tentacles twirling pensively. "A power not of destruction, but of connection." Just then, Mr. Fluffles wandered back to the group, carrying the chew toy almost as big as himself. He dropped it at Zixthor's feet and looked up expectantly, tail wagging. The alien commander stared at the puppy, then at the toy. Hesitantly, he reached down with a tentacle and tossed the toy across the room. Mr. Fluffles bolted after it, his little paws skittering on the linoleum. When the puppy returned, proudly carrying his prize, Zixthor felt something he'd never experienced before. A lightness in his chest, a warmth that spread through his entire being. Without realizing it, he reached down and gently patted Mr. Fluffles on the head. The room fell silent as everyone watched this momentous interaction. Even Mr. Fluffles seemed to sense the importance of the moment, sitting still for once and leaning into the alien's touch. I, I think I understand now, Zixthor said softly. This power, this cuteness, it's not a weapon to be wielded against others. It's a gift to be shared. Sarah nodded, smiling. That's right. And it's not just puppies. Earth is full of creatures that bring joy and companionship. Kittens, bunnies, even some of our larger animals have this effect. Officer Jenny added, it's one of the things that makes Earth special. Our connection with animals has shaped our history and culture. As they talked, the other alien soldiers had gathered around, each taking turns petting Mr. Fluffles or playing gentle games of tug-of-war. The atmosphere in the room had completely transformed from tense standoff to something almost friendly. Zixthor watched his troops, a mix of emotions playing across his alien features. In all our travels, in all our conquests, we've never encountered anything like this. We thought power came from weapons, from fear. But this is different. Sarah saw an opportunity. You know, Commander, there's a lot more to Earth than just our animals. We have beautiful landscapes, diverse cultures, art, music. Maybe what you came looking for isn't a weapon to conquer us, but a chance to learn and connect. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment, absently scratching behind Mr. Fluffle's ears. The puppy had curled up in his lap, completely at ease with his new alien friend. Finally, Zixthor spoke. Perhaps we have been going about this all wrong. Our mission was to find power, but we never considered that power could come in forms other than destruction. He looked around the room, at the humans who had welcomed him despite his initial hostility, at his soldiers who were laughing and playing with a tiny earth creature. And he looked at Mr. Fluffles, peacefully napping in his lap, the very picture of trust and innocence. I believe, Zixthor said slowly, that we have much to learn from Earth. And perhaps Earth has something to teach the rest of the galaxy as well. As the first light of dawn began to peek through the clinic's windows, casting a warm glow over the unlikely group, it became clear that this day would mark not the beginning of an invasion, but the start of something far more powerful: understanding, connection, and the undeniable power of cuteness. As the sun rose over the small town, news of the strange events at Dr. Sarah Chen's veterinary clinic spread like wildfire. The story of how a small puppy had melted the heart of the alien invasion force was too incredible to be kept secret for long. Within hours, the President of the United States was on a secure video call with other world leaders, all of them trying to process this unexpected turn of events. Let me get this straight, the British Prime Minister said, rubbing his temples. The alien invasion was stopped by a puppy. Not just any puppy, the President replied, barely containing his excitement. Mr. Fluffles, the secret weapon we never knew we had. The German Chancellor leaned forward, her eyes sharp. And you say this cuteness affects the aliens. It makes them friendly. Exactly. The President snapped his fingers, which is why I've come up with a plan. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Operation Fluffy Freedom. Meanwhile, back in the small town, Commander Zixthor was experiencing his first Earth breakfast, courtesy of Sarah and Officer Jenny. The alien leader sat at a diner booth, tentacles wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee, while Mr. Fluffles napped contentedly in his lap. I still don't understand, Zixthor said, watching humans go about their morning routines. Why aren't they afraid of us? Sarah smiled, sipping her own coffee. Well, it's hard to be scared of someone who's cuddling a puppy. Just then, a little girl approached their table, her eyes wide with wonder. Mr. Alien, she said shyly, can I pet your doggy? Zixthor looked at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. Of course, small human, he replied, his voice surprisingly gentle. As the girl giggled and stroked Mr. Fluffles' soft fur, Zixthor felt that now familiar warmth spreading through his chest. It was a feeling he was starting to enjoy. Across town, Officer Jenny was coordinating with local animal shelters. Her radio crackled to life. Jenny, you're not going to believe this. We got orders from the top. They want us to gather every puppy, kitten, and cute animal we can find. They're calling it Operation Fluffy Freedom." Jenny chuckled, shaking her head. "Roger that. I'll start making calls." As the day progressed, something extraordinary began to unfold. All over the world, people responded to the call. Animal shelters emptied as volunteers scooped up puppies and kittens. Pet owners brought their furriest, most adorable companions to designated meeting points. Even zoos contributed, sending their cutest baby animals. In New York City, a parade of puppies waddled down Fifth Avenue. In Tokyo, a group of schoolchildren marched with an army of kittens and hamsters. In Sydney, volunteers surfed into beaches with puppies balanced on their boards. Back in the small town, Sarah received a call from the president himself. "Dr. Chen, you're at ground zero of this situation. We need you to lead the local effort. Can we count on you?" Sarah looked at Zixthor, who was now wearing a comically small party hat as part of the little girl's impromptu tea party. She grinned. "Mr. President, I think we got this under control." As evening fell, Operation Fluffy Freedom was in full swing. All around the world, wherever alien ships hovered, they were met not with weapons or fear, but with an army of adorableness. Confused alien soldiers found themselves surrounded by wagging tails, playful meows, and big innocent eyes. Tough exteriors crumbled in the face of soft fur and puppy kisses. On the alien mothership, reports flooded in from bewildered troops. "Sir, the humans in Paris are attacking us with poodles. Command, requesting backup in Tokyo. We're surrounded by. Are those kittens in sushi costumes? This is the Berlin unit. The humans have deployed something called Cortis. We are overwhelmed by their stubby legs and fluffy butts. Send help." In the small-town diner, now turned into an impromptu command center, Zixthor received these messages with a mix of amusement and resignation. Mr. Fluffles, now wearing a tiny Earth Defender cape, sat on the table, munching on a doggy treat. "I think," Zixthor said slowly, looking at Sarah and Officer Jenny, "that we may need to reconsider our invasion plans." Sarah patted his shoulder, trying not to laugh at the sight of the fearsome alien commander covered in puppy stickers. "You know, Zixthor, I have a feeling this might be the start of a beautiful friendship. Between our worlds, I mean." As night fell and the stars came out, stars that now seemed full of possibility rather than threat, the people of Earth celebrated. It wasn't every day that an alien invasion was thwarted not by weapons or war, but by the simple, powerful force of cuteness. And at the center of it all, oblivious to his role in saving the world, Mr. Fluffles curled up in Zixthor's lap and drifted off to sleep, his tiny snores a symbol of the peace that had been achieved. 1 month after the day that became known as the Fluffy Invasion, the world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The United Nations building in New York City was hosting its strangest meeting yet, the first official peace talks between Earth and the Zorgan Empire. Commander Zixthor, now sporting a custom-made Earth-style suit, complete with holes for his tentacles, sat at the grand table. Beside him, in a specially designed high chair, sat Mr. Fluffles, wearing a tiny diplomat's outfit and looking very pleased with himself. On the other side of the table, world leaders gathered, many of them sneaking treats to Mr. Fluffles when they thought no one was looking. Dr. Sarah Chen and Officer Jenny, now hailed as Earth's first alien ambassadors, sat in a place of honor. The Secretary General of the UN stood to speak. "My fellow Earthlings and our new Zorgan friends, we are gathered here today to formally end hostilities and begin a new era of interstellar cooperation." He paused, fighting back a smile. "And of course, we must acknowledge the true hero of this historic moment, Mr. Fluffles, the puppy who saved Earth." Mr. Fluffles, hearing his name, let out a happy yip. The room erupted in laughter and applause. Zixthor raised a tentacle, his eyes twinkling with what humans now recognized as humor. "On behalf of the Zorgan Empire, I must admit that in all our years of space exploration, We never encountered a weapon as powerful as your cuteness. We came seeking to conquer, but instead, we found friendship." Sarah stood up next. "I think I speak for all of Earth when I say we're just glad our first contact turned out to be with aliens who could appreciate the finer things in life, like belly rubs and squeaky toys." More laughter filled the room. It was a far cry from the terror that had gripped the planet just a month ago. As the meeting progressed, plans were made. The Zorgans would share their advanced technology, helping Earth solve problems like climate change and disease. In return, Earth would establish the Intergalactic Puppy Exchange Program, sending puppies and other cute animals to Zorgan colonies across the galaxy. After all, Zixthor explained, every species deserves to experience the joy of a wagging tail. But the biggest surprise came at the end of the meeting. Zixthor cleared his throat, or whatever passed for a throat in Zorgan anatomy. "There's one more thing," he said. "In light of recent events, the Zorgan Empire has decided to, well, retire from the invasion business." A murmur of surprise ran through the room. Instead, Zixthor continued, "We'd like to propose a new mission. We've seen the power of Earth's diversity, not just in your animals, but in your cultures, your art, your music. We'd like to help spread that throughout the galaxy, a cultural exchange, if you will." The Secretary General leaned forward, intrigued. "What exactly are you proposing, Commander?" "Well," Zixthor said, a bit sheepishly, "we were thinking of converting our invasion fleet into something more peaceful. How does the Intergalactic Friendship Cruise Line sound?" The room was silent for a moment, then burst into cheers. The idea of alien tourists visiting Earth and humans exploring the stars was too exciting to resist. As the meeting wound down, Sarah found herself standing next to Zixthor, watching Mr. Fluffles charm a group of diplomats. "You know," she said, "a month ago, if someone had told me I'd be helping plan intergalactic cruises with an alien who tried to invade us, I'd have thought they were crazy." Zixthor chuckled, a sound that no longer seemed strange to Sarah. "And if someone had told me that the most powerful force in the universe was a small furry creature with a wet nose, I'd have had them sent for mental recalibration." They watched as Mr. Fluffles, tired from all the excitement, curled up for a nap on a discarded diplomat's jacket. "I guess sometimes the universe has a sense of humor," Sarah mused. "Indeed," Zixthor agreed. "And I, for one, am glad it does." As the sun set over New York City, casting a golden glow over the UN building, humans and aliens alike marveled at how much had changed in just 1 month. The future that stretched out before them was bright, filled with possibilities, new friendships, and, of course, plenty of puppies. And Mr. Fluffles, well, he slept peacefully, dreaming of chasing squirrels and saving the world. Just an ordinary day for Earth's furriest hero.